go. Yeah.
Have you, Jack, have you, like, are we unmuted?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everyone in person and online for the May meeting of Central Park United Neighbors. Our annual forum. I'll introduce myself. My name is Liz Stallmaker. I'm the board president for Central Park United Neighbors. And I will just move us quickly through a little bit about us and then the agenda for tonight. So CPUN is the Registered Neighborhood Organization, or RNO, for the Central Park community. We provide a working forum for the residents of Central Park to participate in creating, developing, and fostering a vibrant urban community dedicated to social equity, environmental responsibility, and economic opportunity. At our monthly meetings, we facilitate discussion of key issues with neighbors, engage in proactive problem prevention, and amicable problem solving. CPUN is committed to providing an inclusive and welcoming environment for all members of our community. Our mission is the betterment of the city of Denver by providing a forum for the residents living in Central Park to discuss and resolve issues, a network of communication, and a means of acting on matters of importance to the community as a whole. We promote public service, civic discourse, collective efficacy, and we're an all-volunteer board of Central Park residents, and we'll be bringing a couple of new folks onto the board tonight. So
Liz,
yes,
I just noticed on that slide after how long,
yeah,
we do actually represent a small portion of Aurora.
right.
So we should probably.
We'll fix the language on that because yeah, the footprint includes the Aurora portion of the community too. So for our agenda tonight, we'll finish this overview. We'll vote on the board slate, which will literally take 10 seconds, as Brian said. And then we have a few guest speakers. We'll be hearing from Councilwoman Shontel Lewis on updates for City Council District 8. Jack Seward will give us development updates and also the MCA watering policy for the summer, which actually is a nice segue into our third guest speaker is Beth Lewis, who's one of our neighbors. She'll be talking about turf replacement and waterwise gardening. And then we'll have some quick short community partner updates from DPD, the MCA about upcoming events in aquatics, and Bluff Lake Nature Center. Then we'll have just a quick break to stretch our legs and move into the kind of more board focused portion of the meeting. We'll have a treasurer's update. And then we have a number of follow-ups actually from last month's e-bike panel that we wanted to share. And then also, I now want to listen to our meetings during the board hour time to reflect on what we've learned from our guest speakers and what action items or potential follow-ups we'll be taking as an RNO on them. So we'll have some time to talk about what we want to do next after we hear from Beth. And then we'll just have mostly actually a look ahead for our June meeting. We had the community building committee last week. And I think that based on what we talked about there, I think that our June meeting, instead of having guest speakers, would be better focused on internal work and just planning among ourselves so that we can touch base and figure out who wants to work on what is coming up, because we have kind of a number of things in the air. So moving on to our 2026 CPUN board slate. New members are Kathy Gable and Jessica Irvin Hang. Oh, sorry, Katie. Katie Gable. And our returning members are Chris Broderick, Carol Hunter, David Kugler, and Heather Tabano. And we have departing members, Christian Fry and Elizabeth Silva de Balboa. Elizabeth, let me know actually that she is moving outside of the neighborhood. So she had to leave the board, but I want to thank both Kristen and Elizabeth for their time on the board and service to the community. And so this process is very simple. It's just approval voting. So if anybody has any objections, you can say it. Otherwise, we will just move forward with this board slate. So anyone online or in the room?
Do you need a motion?
Yeah,
I move the acceptance of the slate. Second.
okay. I think that like the board slate passes for 2026, 2022 term. So welcome Katie and Jessica. Jessica is I don't know if she could join us online. She's traveling for work. So she let us know that she was not going to be able to, definitely not able to make it in person, possibly not online tonight, but will join us in June.
Doesn't look like she is.
Okay, great. Well, then we will move forward with our first guest speaker is Councilwoman Lewis. I know she's traveling, was going to join us online. Is Councilwoman Lewis in the?
I see.
I mean,
Okay, all right, great. All right, well, Councilwoman Lewis, if you would like to, I'll put up the bullet points. And go ahead.
great, thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me at your meeting to just give you all a few updates about what's happening in our council office and what will be happening in the council office. I wanted to start with some current legislation that we're working on, which is 260328, which is municipal sentencing. This is a bill that I've been working on with Councilwoman Parody and Gonzalez Gutierrez, which is largely aimed at aligning Denver's criminal penalties with state sentencing guidelines in the wake of a Colorado Supreme Court decision that mandates that where a state and a municipality have laws regulating the same conduct, the municipality cannot exceed the sentencing guidelines of the state law. This bill also rewrites various crimes in Denver's code to align with state law to ensure that the prosecutors in Denver can continue to charge crimes at the level they have previously been able to. If we had not rewritten them, the prosecutors would have lost the ability to be able to do so. We are working with the mayor's office and the prosecutors on this one and have come to a number of compromises on this bill already, including the use of a working group to work through code revisions for criminal conduct relating to agencies like the health department and the fire marshals. We are hopeful that we will be able to bridge the remaining divides on this. We were able to finally make it out of Health and Safety Committee, which was on May 14th. And so this bill will have two readings. The first one will be June 1st and the second will be June 8th. If you all are interested in it, you can watch online. You can attend in person and you can sign up for public comment. Additionally, we have 260639, which is a lobbying ordinance. This bill that I'm working on is in conjunction with the Clerk and Recorder's Office, as well as Councilwoman Torres, as well as Gonzalez Gutierrez. And if passed, the bill would do a number of things. One, it would require lobbyists to publicly disclose who is paying them to influence city decisions. It would make it easier for the public to see what specific issues, policies, or legislation lobbyists are trying to influence. It would require the disclosure of organized campaigns designed to influence public opinion or city issues. It would increase transparency related to meetings between city officials and lobbyists. And then finally, it would prevent former elected officials from, and we're still working this out, but it would prevent former elected officials from immediately becoming lobbyists to create a mandatory waiting period or cooling off period before they can lobby city government. Sorry, I was looking at the chat. This bill is expected to come to City Council in early June with the passage sometimes towards the end of the month. And I'm excited to be bringing this legislation forward with the Clerk and Recorder as well as the Councilwoman as well. So city budget updates. I feel like we're always in budget season. And so I wanted to talk a bit about the 2027 budget outlook. So we received budget projections from the city's Department of Finance for 2027. They are currently expecting general fund revenues. And so that's the largest pot of money in the budget to remain roughly flat year over year. In the best case projections, which is 1.3 billion, and to decline by 2% in the worst case scenario. The projections will be updated again over the summer. There's a lot of uncertainty right now, most notably the war in Iran, which is already having inflationary effects and will likely get worse in the near term. Denver is in this position for the third year in a row because the budget is heavily reliant on sales tax, which is slowed in the midst of federal uncertainty and economic policy that is not conducive to sales tax generation. The Department of Finance believes that this pattern may persist and has begun recommending us thinking of ways to restructure the city's revenue streams to be less, I'm sorry, revenue streams to be less reliant on sales tax. And of course, I'm in favor of such a proposal and will work either way to make these kinds of changes come to light. We were able to submit 33 micro priorities. So shout out to the folks who came up with that list through the community panels. This includes requests for systemic traffic upgrades on Northfield, the restoration of a park ranger position for the Sand Creek Regional Green Range section near the shelter corridor on Quebec, light timing changes at 56 in Dallas, and continuing to ask for a hawk light at MOK in Clinton, which was also submitted in last year's Vibrant Bond, though it did not make the final list of projects. A few Dottie updates. So there are a few Dottie specific Central Park items that I wanted to discuss that I know folks have asked about. First, I wanted to start with the Bluff Lake sidewalk fee. You may have heard that Bluff Lake was assessed a sidewalk fee of almost $15,000. This would impact their operations in a very negative way. They appealed the fine, and my office wrote a letter in support of that appeal. The appeal was unsuccessful because the ordinance is narrowly written. However, Dottie recognizes that there's a problem with these larger fees, especially since nonprofits cannot get relief under these programs that individuals can. My office is working with Dottie to figure out how we can address this situation. Right now, we're working to understand how many others around the city are in similar situations as Bluff Lake. And so in the meantime, Dottie is holding Bluff Lake sidewalk fee in until is holding their sidewalk fee until a solution can be worked out. Additionally, I wanted to talk to you all about the hot light on 56 in Bueller. So Maggie Thompson, who's the person who we work very closely with in Dottie, has confirmed that the hot light at 56 in Bueller is in design. It is in the design phase and funded out of the Elevate bond dollars. Maggie did confirm that the design is actively being worked on through timeline, and the timelines are also being worked out. And so more to come with those updates. MLK and Central Park intersection, also a conversation that we had with Maggie. Maggie has confirmed that the following work orders have been completed, and I'll just read you the list of the work orders that she provided to us. So the retiming the signal to include a leading pedestrian interview or LPI. So pedestrians get a 5-second head start to cross the street while all vehicles have a red light. This will also have the effect of reducing turning vehicle conflicts. The retiming the signal to increase pedestrian crossing times to accommodate the retirement community adjacent to this intersection, to install and relocate traffic signal heads, one over each of the lanes for improved visibility, and then the southwest corner of the southwest intersection to remove existing yellow edge line and hatching and to reinstall edge line and posts to improve the channelization of vehicles and better protect pedestrians on that corner. Of the items here, the only portion that was funded out of the Elevate bond was the signal headlight work. There will be no further bond funded work at this intersection. And then finally, I wanted to talk about some work that we're currently doing that was funded as a budget amendment in 2026, in the 2025 budget, for the 2026 budget in 2025, excuse me. So this came out of last year's budget process. Myself, Councilwoman Torres, and Councilwoman Gonzalez Gutierrez ran a budget amendment in order to be able to secure $3 million for community justice grants. And it was accepted by council. And so right now we're working with the Mayor's Office of Children's Affairs, as well as the Office of Social Equity and Innovation and CCJRC to get the money out and into community. This program will put more money at the disposal of organizations in community who understand the needs and nuances of those communities. And eligible grants could include funding for proposals that address the root causes of crimes, which would be inclusive of the social determinants of health. And so we're really excited to be bringing this forward and building this out, and are incredibly hopeful for the impact it will have over the coming years on preventing youth violence and helping communities build strength. So those are my updates, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Councilwoman Lewis, we have a question in the chat about mosquito mitigation control. And is there anything that the city's doing with that? And I don't know if you or Jack from MCA have any updates on, potential mosquito mitigation.
Not that I know of, but I'm happy to inquire, and I can maybe get that information back to Liz if I find anything, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
The MCA, on behalf of Park Creek Metropolitan District, will continue its normal mosquito mitigation program, which involves larva sampling, trapping, and as necessary, spraying through our wastewater discharge and drainage systems and stormwater collection basins throughout the community. There are about 16 sites where we sample, and based off of what that sampling data shows us, we will then take corrective action to mitigate potential mosquito impacts.
Councilwoman Lewis, I had a question about safe routes to school. I'm wondering if you can give any updates. From what I understand, that the funding is sort of dissolved for that. And I know a couple of Central Park schools, including Willow, just had their assessment and plan put forward on traffic mitigation around the school. Do you know anything if avenues we could seek to have that actually implemented?
Yeah, so I say every, and when I say every, I mean since I've been on council, which is almost 3 years, council members run a budget amendment regarding safe routes to school specifically. They tend to do Vision Zero as well as safe routes to school. The complication is that council members can run budget amendments all that they want, and even get those budget amendments passed, but it's up to the administration from a programmatic standpoint, like an operation standpoint, to institute those things. I know that council members are incredibly, I can think of a few off the top of my head, like Councilwoman Alvidrez, Councilman Hines, Councilwoman Parity, Woman Torres, have all been very much interested in safe routes to school. We include safe routes to school for all of our schools in District 8 as a micro priority as well. And so that's the extent of the information that I have for you, but really it's an opportunity to pressure the administration to ensure that safe routes to school is a priority for this administration.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilwoman, you mentioned, other organizations that are facing similar circumstances with the sidewalk fee. The MCA will pay about $300,000 in sidewalk fees this year. It's money that we would otherwise use for, anything else. And we'll also pay upwards of $400,000 in stormwater drainage fees, both for public properties that benefit the community that if they were owned by Parks and Recreation would be programmed the same, but wouldn't be assessed those fees because the MCA is a nonprofit organization and not an arm of the city. We are stuck paying those fees, and in fact we've run into trouble being able to transfer streets that are in our possession to the city because there are liens for these fees on streets that the city will end up owning, and the city won't take the street until we pay them for a street we're trying to give them for free. And so I would be happy to connect with you or Jesse about some more of those details so we can talk
Sure,
about that.
I'm happy to. I appreciate it.
Any other questions, either in the chat online or here in the room?
Yep.
All right, well, thank you so much for the update. And thanks to your office actually helped with some of the, Jesse helped connect us with Parks and Rec as one of our follow-ups for the e-bike panel last month. So we certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the e-bike rebate went really fast today. I had like constituents reaching out who signed on at 11 o'clock exactly and were not able to get a voucher. So I'm glad you all are doing that panel. It sounds like there's a lot of interest in that conversation and dialogue. And Liz or anyone, if there are any topics in the future that you want me to make sure that I come and discuss with you all, I'm more than happy to.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah.
I think we'll move on to Jack Seward will give us the
Howard, share my.
yes. I think we need I think Brian, did you pin Councilwoman Lewis on screen?
I got it. I'll let this.
Oh, okay. Jack, if you can unpin and then I think I gave you permission to share, Jack. So I'll stop sharing my screen.
There we go.
All right.
Let's see, where's my share button? There it is. Everyone that I haven't had a chance to meet yet, Jack Seward, Operations Manager with the Master Community Association, or at least that will be my title for another 2 weeks. And alas, I am departing the organization to pursue another opportunity. And so yes, that's exciting, but that's not what we're talking about now. What we're talking about is development and all of the very, very many things that are being developed across the neighborhood. We're going to start on the south side of the neighborhood. Hold on. We're going to start at the south side of the neighborhood. And what, if you know where the Mici's Italian restaurant is, there's big old airplane hangars there. They used to have big old satellite dishes in the parking lot. This is a multifamily project that is affectionately being referred to as the Hangar Apartments. The developer here is called Clear Sky Capital. They're an outfit out of Chicago. This is the general site there. And like I said, it's currently those airplane hangars bordered by Central Park Boulevard and 23rd Avenue and Tamarack Street here on the side. This project will build 220 apartments. They're going to be market rate, 0.75 parking spaces per unit, with a wrapped parking garage and surface parking. So you see on the side here, they'll have surface parking. This internal piece here will be a parking garage with units that then wrap around. Total of 5 stories is what's being planned. It'll also add green space to what is currently vacant land. There are some photos for you there, and will abut into the surrounding neighborhood. Founders Green Townhomes is located right there. It's the vacant strip right there off of Trenton Street, due south of MLK Boulevard. It's going to be a townhome project, 40 townhome style apartments. What we are finding, it's very interesting, is that it appears that we have oversaturated the market with your traditional high-rise apartment, the 1-2 studio bedroom apartment type product. We're finding in Denver that there are just too many of them, and that we're not able to rent them. So we're going to experiment with a new type of product, and these are 3-story townhomes. They'll be rented just like an apartment would be, but they're going to look like a townhome, they're going to feel like a townhome, and they're going to have 3-4 bedrooms with a ground floor garage. Habitat for
Just also like provide like a timeline, I guess, when those are like, are these like,
Those are all great questions.
yeah. But
Those are all great questions. We don't have a timeline on the hangar apartments. They are fully entitled. I believe they're still squaring away financing at this point. The latest projection that we saw was Q3 of 2026 would be when dirt started moving. This is a $150 million project.
Where you go and affordability, I mean, are they all,
It's market rate apartments.
so no,
There's no affordable component to it. Yes, so hangar apartments, they actually, so the city passed their ordinance requiring that all multifamily projects include an affordable housing component. This project was approved the day before that ordinance took effect and was therefore exempt from
flush of
the-
like that stuff.
yes.
all right,
So yes, this is just market rate, again, 220 apartments. And that parking space number will irritate me for a very long time. Moving, again, those Founders Green townhomes, that's about 40 of them. We do not have a date for work to begin on that at all. Brookfield is the developer on this one.
Rentals?
They're all going to be rentals. Yes.
Jack, was that originally supposed to be for sale townhomes in that?
It's originally supposed to be high-rise apartments. It was gonna be 3-story, 2 3-bedroom apartments that would match the 7575 building that's here. And then they've since decided that they don't want to do those.
That was originally the other half of the retirement. But somebody had bought that property and they were gonna put townhomes.
You are thinking just want this area here, Brian, just to the.
No,
Huh?
I know which one I'm thinking of.
Okay, I hadn't heard that. And so the this parcel is still owned by Brookfield, and Brookfield is continuing to go ahead with their department. I very possibly thinking of something else now that I think about it some more that I was confusing there, but yeah, this one this site was it hasn't changed hands yet. Brookfield still has it.
Okay.
Whether or not their original plan was to sell the property to an entity to build townhomes on it, I don't know. I wasn't privy to those conversations. The current working plan is for the 40 townhomes. And I should have led with, please interrupt me as we go along. And
Do make it anyway.
No,
I talk quickly, so slow me down and ask for corrections. Habitat for Humanity is joining us. So this is a very interesting site here. So this is King Soopers, and this is the Clyburn. So this is a small little section that Habitat is going to come into. It's going to be 12 duplexes. These are income qualified homes. It's going to be a slab on grade type product with those independent garages. So this is where they're all going to kind of sit right here, right between what is a big landscape median and the Clyburn. We're gonna just squeeze them right on in there, and then they're going to share this private drive to access their garages.
Explain just briefly what slab on grade
They're
means
not-
compared to what?
Correct. They're not going to have basements.
Okay.
It's going to be, they're going to grade the site. They're going to pour some concrete. They're going to build on top of that concrete. So you have a slab right on the and so if you're familiar with Habitat for Humanity and their program, the individuals that will come to live in these homes will actually assist in the building of the homes. So this is going to be a very, very long project. We believe it will get started at some point during the summer, and we expect it to be done in 2 or 3 years. Just given the way these projects come together and how they're sourced. Again, very affordable. The folks that will end up living here because they participate in the building of their homes, the amount of money that they end up putting into the property is very small. This is a for sale product, so they will end up owning that property and having it. The Central Park Station has seen a lot of change in design over about the last year. So this is the transit-oriented development. Originally, this area, so here's the Central Park Station, this is light rail. Originally, the plan for this site included high-density office space, high-density apartments, and ground floor retail. It was really supposed to be a commercial center. The recession in 2008 dashed all of the dreams that we would ever have for office space and commercial. And then when those dreams were kind of reimagined, then COVID came along and we realized everybody prefers to work from home. And so we're not going to build anything that is related to an office space anymore. This is the Elevon Apartments, 265 apartments here that you see at Central Park Boulevard and 36th. This would be your Sprouts right here, the Chase, and the other commercial here. These 3 sites, this is an older picture, but these are that this is a affordable apartment complex. And then this is those affordable townhomes as well. Those were done by the same folks that built the Sprouts. This 265 apartment unit here, that's 5 stories. This is phase 1. Phase 2 will come to the north of it. That's 245 apartment units. The rest of this project is going to be that townhome style product that we've talked before, built in a couple of different phases. So 176 townhomes here on the southern end of the project, and then 377 multifamily units here. The conversations are actively changing around whether or not these 377 units are going to be a for rent product or a for
Thank
sale
you.
product. They haven't quite worked those out yet. These 176 townhomes will be a for rent product. And then up here, this site is actually currently part of the RTD parking lot. RTD has entered into an agreement to surface lease that site to Ulysses Development Group, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a couple of minutes. What a surface lease means is that RTD is going to own the dirt and that Ulysses is going to own the improvements that are on it. What has always been curious to me is if the lease for the ground ends, but the people own the buildings on top of the ground and the lease ended, what you do with the building that you own. But they, smarter people than me will work that out. We'll talk more about that site in just a second.
Modular units.
Module, you don't quite know what's going to go there yet, is what that really means, is we haven't worked it all out.
The southern end is, they fenced it off, so they're getting ready to start moving.
They are. They're getting ready to build these townhome units. So this is the site that is fenced off right here. And it's going to be those three-story townhome style apartment. These are all market rates. They are all going to have an independent garage. This is a little bit better of a overview of what that's going to look like. And this is what the rendering of that project looks like. They are entitled. Design is mostly approved, and they're going to start grading here next week, beginning of June. And then we'll see stuff actually start getting built probably at the end of June and into July. So like I mentioned before, the affordable, so this is that affordable site. It's going to be 3-phase project. So this one is 100 apartments. This is very income qualified. This is going to be Proposition 125 and Section 8. And it's going to also include a child care center. And so that is a very unique aspect of this project that we're excited about that's going to exist there. This is all surface level parking. So this is going to be phase 1. You'll see phase 1 here, then there'll be a phase 2 and a phase 3 above it, but they'll do all the parking in phase 1 as they build it in. This area here of the project is going to be that early childhood center. This is going to be, for ages about 2 to about 4 will be the demographic of that early childhood center. It's what it looks like, kind of the renderings of this. And we don't have a whole lot of details regarding that site. It's in its infancy. That design is, but we're excited to see what are currently mostly empty parking lots be used for something other than an empty parking lot. This project's been it's a pretty interesting project working with RTD as we've gone along through that process. Okay, heading to the east to 3800 Xanthia. This is what is currently RK Mechanical. This is going to be 500 apartments. They also got in their plans just before the deadline for requiring that affordable product. And so it will be completely market rate. The brick wall that currently surrounds the RK Mechanical site will come down to integrate this project into the rest of the community. This is what it looks like here. It's going to be landscaped here. There's going to be a fence that runs along the Sand Creek Greenway side. This is Denver Parks and Recs land. There is this multi-use path here. It's a crusher fine type design. That's going to remain the crusher fine design, and there will be a wrought iron fence that separates this project from there. The wall that runs along this alley to the east of this project, that part of the brick wall is going to remain. The brick wall that spans 25th and then Xanthia Street here, that will come down. And the reason for that is we would like people to be able to access the site off those main thoroughfares, so that they can take advantage of the rest of the neighborhood and pedestrian activity. Whereas if the wall would have stayed, that would have forced everybody to enter and exit the site here off of Xanthia Street and would have really precluded what would be a shortcut if you're heading to Central Park, the park itself to the north, I'm sorry, to the south here. Correct, they're just sidewalks. Vehicular entry will be all off of Xanthia Street, 3 entries here, here, and here. But along 35th Drive will all be just pedestrian only. There's an existing landscaping patch here, Matt, that the Park Creek will be selling to this developer. Any more questions as I'm going along here? Again, I'm talking fast. Yeah, this one's going to be built in 2 phases. The first phase we expect in Q3 of this year, which means delivery probably next summer. And then they don't have a timeline yet for phase 2. Each phase is going to be about $100 million. So the way that financing works, you can only borrow so much at a time. So that'll probably be pushed down the road. Phase 2 will probably not get started till 28 or 29.
Is that
It'll be a little skewed. The second phase is going to be a little smaller than the first phase, but they haven't given me the breakdown quite yet. I don't think they know the answers to those questions.
Traffic impacts. How does that align with the Smith Road?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have a good, we're gonna have 500 more apartments. If you use the average of 2 people per apartment, that's about 1,000 more people that are gonna be coming into this area when it's all finished. Assuming that every unit has at least 1 car, that's also going to be 500 more vehicles that come to that unit. So yeah, we're going to see more traffic in this area. As many of you know, Smith Road dead ends here at Xanthia Street and down here at Havana. There are plans in the works and engineering is underway to complete it would be essentially a mile and some change of this road. It's going to be a very expensive project to do that because the bridge that currently serves right here has to be completely reconstructed. And so their plan is, the Park Creek Metro District is leading this part of the project, but the plan will be to open that up for either pedestrian traffic and vehicular traffic. Potentially it might be just pedestrian traffic depending on how complicated that bridge project becomes and whether or not Dottie goofy idea that it be 4 lanes of traffic instead of 2 lanes of traffic continues to exist. So early phases of design on that particular part of the project. I will make a point of when we have those the engineering plans for that. We'll come back and see all of you to detail those. It might not be me, it might be someone else, but someone will definitely close.
Chuck, I just wanted to give you a time check. It's 7:08 right now, so
I am.
going on,
That's
guys.
why we're talking fast. So we're gonna speed through here. So now we're gonna keep moving to the north. This is what we call parcel 8. This is where the current credit union is off of 40th Avenue. And then we're gonna have retail, a for rent product and a for sale product. There's gonna be an 8-acre park that goes into here. This is what that park is going to look like between these two pictures here. Some images of what that park looks like. This project is under construction as we speak. They're out there moving dirt. We expect to deliver the park portions of this project by the end of 2026. If we then move down to this area here, this is going to be the Whole Foods. So this is 40th Avenue. A ride-in, ride-out cut is going to be made to Central Park Boulevard to access this Whole Foods site. And then there are going to be these 3 standalone buildings here, each with 2 units that they're still working on finding tenants for. This project is a long ways out. Work is not expected to begin on this until Q1 of 2028. Wow. If we move across the street to what is now the Avenues in Northfield, used to be the shops at Northfield. They are doing what they're called their Main Street Northfield project. So they're going to close what is currently called Main Street to vehicles, and it's going to be a pedestrian mall. It'll look something like that. It's supposed to actually look really nice. I'm going to just speed through this here, just given the time. And we'll share these slides so you can dig into them more. Right behind me is Colorado's first Wayfair. That will go in. That's under construction now. We expect delivery of that project by the end of Q2. Then to also right behind me here, what is currently a vacant site, parking lots really, and where the off-Broadway shoes are. This is the site that was rezoned, if you recall, in June of last year. This was originally proposed to be a high-density apartment community. It's now also going to be those townhome products, 216 townhome apartments. There will be both a mix of market rate and affordable. This next week, the Stockdale Capital, who owns Avenues at Northfield, will sell this parcel of land to a developer out of California called BB Living, who will work on this. This is a very early, what we call sketch design that you're looking at on the screen there. And so the nuts and bolts haven't quite been put together yet. This is kind of an idea of what those apartment for rent products are going to look like. All right, milepost 35. If anybody drives down Northfield Boulevard, you're going to see a whole lot of construction going on. This is a 3-phase project right around what's called Navigator Park. That's 3 acres. Phase 1, that's 352 units. That's complete. You see phase 2, which is 5 stories, 219 units. That's under construction. Then there'll be a phase 3, 429 apartments that'll be coming in here. Altogether, this will be 3,000 apartments. This is what this looks like here. Couple of renderings there. All right, we're almost done, I promise. Beeler Flats, this is right here off of 56. So this is the high school. It's right here. Here's Beeler Street right there, which is where that traffic signal is going to go in. We're talking about right here. This is a 2-phase affordable housing project, and the ground floor will house the Foundation for Sustainable Urban Communities. This is the phase 1 building here. There's this fun easement that we have to deal with. So it's just going to be open space in front. This building here, it's going to look a little something like this. This project also is under construction and being built as we speak. It should be delivered by the end of the year. Okay, couple of retail projects. PNC Bank, because why have one PNC Bank when you can have 3? It is coming in right off of Central Park Boulevard and MLK, right next to the control tower. I have no idea why they're building another PNC Bank, but that's PNC Bank. Then Wolverine Instant Oil Change is going to go between the PNC Bank and the control tower. It's going right there. That's what this looks like. We don't have a whole lot more on the design except for that concept design. Finally, Discount Tires. Who has seen the new Chick-fil-A over by Quick Trip off of 40th? Yes, I'm sure you have. It's going to sandwich in the vacant lot that is currently between the Chick-fil-A and the car wash. Lots of fun there. It's going to look like a Discount Tire. I'm told very firmly that they're all going to look alike. Every idea that I propose, I get shot down because they're all going to look alike. That's that. Okay, that's the development portion.
Yes.
There we go. Any last questions before I talk about the drought? Oh, yes, the drought is so much fun. I'll get to that question in the chat here in just a second.
Yes, actually, no, I think that for the person who put the stuff in the chat, I think that we'll just need to take questions and answer them separately. So we'll get the questions to you separately, Jack.
So I'll
do more community partners.
Yeah, I'm going to run through the drought stuff just really, really quick here at a very high level. We're in a drought. We're really trying to reduce the watering that we're doing. And so our pools and our water features, those are a recycling system of water. So there's not a lot of evaporation there. We're still going to use those systems. We don't add a lot of water to those. The water we put in those systems tends to be the water we finish the year with the systems in when we drain them. What we are so those are going to be open. They're going to stay open unless Denver Water tells us we can't do that. We don't have any indication at this point that Denver Water is going to do that. We're going to reduce irrigation on what we call our active use parks. So this is sports fields mostly. They're going to get watered only 2 days a week. Currently, they're watered 3 days a week. We're not going to irrigate non-active use vegetation. So that's anything that doesn't have a specific active use. So pretty much anything that's not a sports field is just not going to get watered this year. We're going to water our trees, but we're not going to plant new trees. Tree dies, if a tree died last year, we're not going to replace that tree because establishing a tree takes a lot of water and we don't have a lot of water to go around. We're also not going to enforce residents' obligations to irrigate their lawns. That said, you still need to take care of your property. Don't let weeds grow. Don't let it become dirt. Don't let it be poor. We're just not going to make you water your lawns. On the right-hand side of the screen is the watering schedule. Remember, all properties here in the neighborhood are limited to 2 days a week. Even numbered addresses are Sunday and Thursday. Odd number addresses Wednesday and Saturday. Apartments, your HOA courtyards, commercial properties, those are Tuesdays and Fridays. There is no watering, none. Very bad. Don't water between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. And then Denver Water has strongly recommended that you hold off turning on your automatic sprinkler systems till the end of the month. Now I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jack. And if you can just share, I'll link to the, to this, presentation
Absolutely.
when we send it out.
Absolutely.
Better. Okay. So
Caught that. I talk fast, and I'll just note it's 7:15, and that's when you told me I had to be done. So, miss you.
well, Mr. M, well, you're still on the board. Like, it's just the MCA updates, correct?
Yeah. You know, right now might be different next week, but we'll find out.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Okay, and so we'll move on to our next speaker is Beth Lewis to actually kind of talk about, you know, if we're in our lawns, we don't necessarily have to have lawns also. And you know, what does waterwise landscaping look like? So I'm going to share Beth, if you would like to introduce yourself and start the presentation.
My name is Beth Lewis. I've been in Central Park for close to 11 years now. If we go to the next slide here. So this is my house, one half of a duplex. We started in the upper left-hand corner, my husband and I, with the builder installed, and we were looking to go sustainable with our landscaping. And also try and have it be an example for the neighborhood of a sustainable way to landscape. And so that was close to 4 years ago. We have a native grass lawn in the tree lawn. The hell strip and the front yard were also converted. We hired Meadow Pro. They work in the Denver area. And I fell completely in love with everything, no background in gardening prior. And by the end of the project, had been doing so much reading and just thrilled with, as soon as the plants were in their pots, not even planted in the ground, all of a sudden dragonflies were showing up and different pollinators, just kind of like this rush in of like, we needed this. And so I ended up joining the Meadow Pro team. Just to help people be aware of these kind of landscapes and what they can look like along the Front Range. Because when we think of xeriscaping, it's so often the Arizona style look, and it really doesn't have to be. Go to the next slide. We are part of the Shortgrass Prairie region. These are all images I took at Pawnee Buttes National Grassland, the northeast corner of the state. So when people say grass doesn't like it here, I say, well, which grass?
Doesn't what?
Kentucky bluegrass is from South England. So that's why it is a struggle to have it live here. But we have a lot of native grasses that are used to being here, grow on very minimal water, and provide a lot of ecological benefit. Rocky Mountain Wildlife, or Rocky Mountain Arsenal and Wildlife Refuge, a lot of us know. You want to do a little drive through there, get a sense of what grows well here. That's another example. I also think when we're looking for what wants to be here, what plants want to be here, let's look to our parks. I have a lot of joy going through the parks, either on dog walks or on bike rides, and seeing what's going on. The image on the left is from Butterfly Park in the north end. I do live north of 56, so like all my images are north of 50, or north of Northfield Boulevard, north of I-70. But you know, lots of flowers that are very, very low water. And these two images on the left are of little blue stem that are in our parks. It is such a stellar ornamental grass. used in a lot of different ways by builders and the developer of the parks at large. That center strip is a median, plants from nearby like Texas red yucca. And these medians close to the wildlife refuge are also really, really awesome. I don't know if everybody around them appreciates them, but every time I go, I'm just like so excited to see those there. They are actually, that purple prairie clover is known as a keystone species for our area. So it's really packing a punch for pollinators. Very, very nutritious for them. These two images more, there's lead plant. I forget what the common name is, but Heterotheca villosa is the little yellow guy tucked in there. And then on the right-hand side, there's blanket flower. There's oxytropis. There's just like, even in that little patch, we really lucked out with our park system and getting some really awesome plants here for providing for wildlife. So when we talk about how that can kind of translate into the home landscape, the image on the left is from our house. So we did a native lawn that is comprised of two grasses. It's buffalo grass and blue grama grass. And blue grama grass is actually our state grass. And one of the benefits to those two grasses is that not only are they low water, they also are host plants for skipper butterflies. So those are the real little, quarter or nickel sized butterflies that you may not notice because they're gray and brown and not super showy, but they will actually be in the grass laying eggs and making more butterflies. Those two grasses, oh, it's all right. Those are the flowering when they're in flower. So the blue grama and buffalo grass in flower. That lawn, that other picture is, I think it's all blue grama. But it'll get to, if you let it grow and you're watering it actively, it'll get to 14 to 16 inches tall. In my experience with our tree lawn and not watering it too much beyond that first year, I don't see much of it getting very tall, and it kind of just flops over in the winter under the snow. But those seeds also act as bird feeders. So those birds will come eat those seeds in the wintertime. On the left is our native lawn. That's just a bucket when I was winter watering one day. But you can kind of see how it's flopped over and kind of flowy. That right-hand image, we had kind of a reverse this year. Normally, Kentucky bluegrass greens up before our native grasses. And this year, between the 90-degree weather days that we had in March and the drought, it was kind of the reverse. So that green patch is actually native lawn that's hadn't been watered in one of the parks here. And then the strip above it is the Kentucky bluegrass. Typically, a native lawn isn't going to be green quite as long as Kentucky bluegrass. But I say, got to make a concession somewhere. I highly recommend, if you're interested in doing this at your home, that you go to Denver Water's YouTube channel. I attended Catherine Moravec's presentation on native lawns. Even though I'm really familiar with this, I wanted to hear what she specifically had to say about it. And that YouTube video is live, so you can watch that with a ton of information. She's also a part of the group that put together this Colorado native grass guide. So if you prefer to get your information in a document format versus a YouTube video, if you go to coloradonativegrass.org, there's a ton of information. You can download that PDF. It has a lot more information. Don't get intimidated. I think it's 49 pages. You don't need 49 pages of material to do this, but it covers everything that could come up and all kinds of questions. So how do we establish this stuff when we have watering restrictions? So Denver Water has a permitting process that you can do to establish new waterwise grass seed, new waterwise grass plugs. So that'll be like your tiny plants. You can buy grass and plugs like that sometimes. So you go to denverwater.org/conserve. At that same presentation, we were told that all you have to do is apply, and then that's it. You don't have to wait to hear back from Denver Water in order to move forward. They just need you on the record so that if your neighbors or somebody flags you, you're already permitted.
So I guess how much extra watering does it take, I guess, to establish like
Well, it depends on when you do it and what our weather's like. So there is a period where that's most successful, and that's covered in the guide and the YouTube video. They're warm season grasses. Kentucky bluegrass is a cool season grass. These are warm season grasses that are green in the warm season in the summer. So it depends. Are we having a 80-degree streak, a 100-degree streak? It's going to depend a little bit on that. I don't think I have enough experience to answer that properly. Shady tree lawns. I just wanted to give an example of something Meadow Pro had done. This is a carex, which is a sedge. So it looks grass-like with geranium. I just think it's super, super pretty, that lime green, chartreuse color with the pink. But just, we have options, and for any kind of situation you could have, there's a plant for that. Side yards and backyards, if you have kids who are actively running on them, or dogs who are doing zoomies, native lawns are not going to be a good fit for that. They don't handle that kind of traffic super well. So for those kind of things, these two images are in our yard. We have dog tough grass, which is a Bermuda grass. Kelly Grummins is the one who worked on that here in Lakewood. You can find out more about dog tough grass on their website. It's typically sold Nick's Garden Center, places like that. If you're interested in it, I would just use like the dog tough website. For site prep instructions, you're usually taking an auger and drilling into your soil, popping those plugs in, and making sure to water appropriately. Tahoma 31 is a new Bermuda grass hybrid that I don't know a ton about, but it's being pushed a lot for the same reasons. It'll handle that tolerance more for if you want lawn that is highly trafficked. City or town of Erie is using it as something folks can get their turf replacement rebates for. But I don't know enough to share where it might be available for sale at this point. So why not rocks? I think every tree lawn that I see converted into rocks, and people say, I love how this looks, and it's so neat and tidy. And I don't know why everyone thinks this won't be them, but every yard has a weed seed bank there. Once we start disturbing that soil, those weeds are going to be exposed. So there are ways to plan for that, but also seeds are airborne. Dandelion seeds can travel super far. Birds can poop out some new seeds for you. If your neighbors have things that are, weedy and blowing into your yard, those weeds are going to come. So if you're converting your space, try to make a plan for the weeds. Weed barrier is a plastic fabric that will break down to little plastics for you. It's a pain in the neck to take out, and it's generally really bad for soil or for any plantings to be planted in it. Tree roots tend to get pretty hot. With rock, especially the larger it is, I've seen some conversions where there's really big boulders on those tree roots. Because trees do not go straight down into a tap root. Those roots are flared out into a drip line, kind of like a reverse umbrella. So nature abhors a vacuum, and plants are trying to come in. If there's a blank space, it's like a party for the plants because they don't have any competition in their root zone, and they don't have any competition for water use. So they'll come in. And I think one of the biggest things for me is that they contribute to urban heat island. so much of what, our tree lawns are for is kind of helping to mitigate the reflected heat from our streets and our sidewalks that are bouncing back towards our homes. And really, when you think about it, do you want to be in a neighborhood that's full of rock tree lawns? To me, that feels a little dystopian and not really where I want to be. I'd rather have somewhere that's more cool and cooling and more alive. So that's my personal perspective on it. However, squeegee is one of the top recommended rocks or kind of mulches for these drought tolerant kinds of plants. I believe technically City of Denver doesn't exactly want squeegee and tree lawns just because it can wash into the storm system and then they're having to deal with it. So you might be thoughtful about those kinds of things. But I know some folks have turf they're looking to take out in their front yards as well. And there are a lot of, I'll get to another page of resources, but there's a lot we can get into with different mulch types. Mulch is, we talk about organic mulch, which is something that's going to break down like our wood chips and things like that. Inorganic mulch would be your rocks. Typically water will infiltrate that. Sorry, I was giving myself a timer so I didn't go over. Didn't make it.
I was gonna say, we can move ahead to, I guess, I got to say, what are kind of like the key slides you want to hit on?
Yeah, let's go forward. So yeah, just what if we had more gardens? These are examples in the neighborhood that I've seen that it, I like people's imagination with what else they're doing. This is a tree lawn, I think that was planted by the builder, but it's all little blue stem. So if you're looking for something low maintenance, a lot of those homes by the wildlife refuge, their tree lawns were just planted with like rows of little blue stem or things like that. There's not a lot that can get in there, but if you imagine what all can come to life, I mean, seeing blue bees and black bees and tiny bees and large bees and different kinds of bumblebees and all sorts of butterflies. I mean, to me, that's much more magical.
And rock.
Yeah. Also host plants so you can grow more butterflies and moths. These are just more examples.
This is like that's like kind of vision boarding.
We can create pollinator corridors here. That's really the thought that, a lot of these guys cannot travel that far. And so if we can each create these patches where they can travel from one house and then maybe 5 houses down to another spot to be able to forage, that way we can support everybody better. I think especially today, I saw 2 folks on my route to my son's school watering their lawns this morning in the midst of this rainy week. If you don't know about smart irrigation controllers and you think that might be for you, please look into it. They, if you look for certain ones, they will tap into your closest weather station. So you can have an irrigation schedule set up and they will shut off when there is sufficient moisture. So you don't have to be hyper aware of how the weather is going to be all the time. And then think about where your downspout water is going. I think, for a lot of properties, it's shooting off, which is good for the foundation, but there are ways to slow that down in a lot of cases and actually use it on site. That could be a very long talk in and of itself. If you're interested in rainwater harvesting, I'd check out Brad Lancaster. And then if you're DIYing, make changes in bite-sized chunks for yourself. You can design the whole thing on paper and then physically address pieces at a time that work for you. Free resources that are amazing. CSU Extension. I feel like so many people don't know about it and don't know they can use it. All kinds of free guides. You can write in questions that are really specific to your home. In your landscape. The Denver Water YouTube channel has a lot of great videos. Front Range Wild Ones has tons of free resources too. I know a lot of folks use Garden in a Box, and I've always heard everybody loves their Garden in a Box. They sold out initially this spring, but they're going to be restocking some of their gardens in June. And then they have free webinars also. There's at least one more coming up here this summer. And then the lawn removal rebate that we normally have available to us got filled up this year because everyone went, drought. But the thing most people don't know about that rebate is that you do have to show that you're removing an area that is getting watered. So you need pictures of your green lawn. When I was working with Meadow Pro, I would get a lot of people calling in and say, yeah, my lawn's totally yellow and it's killed. And I want to do the rebate. It's like, well, they're not going to approve you because you already stopped watering. So the rebate is to try and cut watering out. There's no way to prove how long you might not have been watering. A lot of landscapers don't know plants. These are the people I've worked with and met in the last few years. They know plants. And I talked with Meadow Pro and they said they would be happy to help folks, even if you just want to remove your tree lawn so that you can do a project. And that's kind of the hard physical part of it. They will come and just remove tree lawns for Central Park only. But yeah, these other companies are great too. Everybody offers something different. And feel free to come for a garden tour, walk, drive by, email me. And if you have any questions, you can email me also.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, anyway, we'll talk about next steps, but.
One thing I just want to add,
Yeah.
I've known Beth for several years and she downplays her expertise. She calls herself an enthusiast and she's much, much more. Plus, she's a really generous person. But the one thing that I've learned, I live on a corner right over here on 49th Place and Uinta, is that the gardening that I do, we ripped everything out over a few years, is the community that it builds. That people stop and talk. We have a lot of dog walkers. We have kids on bikes. We have just runner, whatever. And people remember my name and I don't remember theirs and I'm embarrassed, but it's worth it because we just chit chat. It's just a moment. And then if, I'm helping to give people ideas, so much the better. So it's a nice community builder as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I've learned a lot from that and it's given me a lot of ideas, so we'll talk about that. So we do need to kind of move. We have actually a couple of additional guest community partners. So Grayson from Congresswoman DeGette's office is here to give a quick update from Congressional District 1.
I'll try to keep it to 5 minutes. So my name is Grayson. Like Liz said, I'm with Congresswoman DeGette's office. I'm her district outreach representative. So I'm her kind of eyes and ears on the ground while she's in Washington because she can't be here all the time. So I just kind of want to just tell you about a few of her top priorities that she's working on in Washington and then kind of our constituent services that our office offers. So top priorities in Washington, obviously it's no secret that this administration has been attacking Colorado. So she's really been leading efforts to push back on that. She's part of a small group of House Democrats that they coordinate the lawsuits around the country. So I'm sure you've seen that A.G. Weiser, he files a lawsuit weekly, at least that. But she helps, they get together with all the attorneys general and find the right forum so it's most successful. And so 2/3 of those lawsuits have been successful, and that's unfrozen after school funding, funding for low-income schools, childcare funding, public health programs, money for clean energy projects here in Colorado. All those things are partially because of her efforts. Another area that she's really stood up against is obviously the attack on immigrants. She's gone to the facility in Aurora, the GEO facility, and toured that and make sure people are being treated properly. They're not. So making sure that she's doing the, asking questions, holding people accountable. She led the charge to not give ICE any more funding and believes that it needs to be completely overhauled. And specifically in her committee, she has jurisdiction over agency that does work with the unaccompanied minors. So children that come here by themselves or they're separated from their parents. So also she's really led oversight efforts on that to make sure that they're being treated properly, that they're not being deported, all those things. So that's kind of the first bucket. Secondly, she is the top Democrat now just of this Congress on the health subcommittee. So she'll, if Democrats take back the majority, she'll have a key role in making health policy. She'll be able to shape it. So her plan is to kind of come up with legislation for all the drivers of cost in healthcare. So whether that's hospitals, prescription drugs, insurance, and make sure that we're addressing those, because for a long time, those haven't been addressed and our premiums keep going up and up and up, right? This Congress, she's really worked on trying to get the ACA enhanced premium tax credits reauthorized, extended, because that drives up premiums for people in the marketplace, right? Which is mainly early retirees, small business owners, people that are just out of school that they don't have benefits with their job. But also when people drop out of the marketplace, which we've seen some, then that raises premiums for all of us. So even if you have employer-sponsored insurance, that raises your premiums as well. So she's really focused on addressing that. And then finally, one of her big priorities is bringing money back to Denver in order to solve the problems, many that we've talked about. So we talked about affordable housing. Last year, she got $2 million for the city's shelter system so that they can do, by last year, I mean in January, this last fiscal year. So they can have permanent supportive housing. So that way it's not just people going in and out of the shelters. If you talk to, I'm sure with you guys being so close to Quebec, the people that operate the shelters, they just kind of see a revolving door of people. They'll get someone in there, then they'll get them into housing, and then they go right back out. So really trying to stop that to make sure they have wraparound services. She's funded a number of projects around the city, specifically in South Denver as well, that do that. So Urban Peak for youth that are homeless. Warren Village had a huge expansion, which she got millions of dollars for. And she's also trying to spearhead bringing back dollars to build affordable housing. So she's currently fighting for $9.2 million to make 300 affordable housing units that kind of tackle that missing middle. The 3 and 4 bedrooms, lower AMI, the area median income, things that we don't have in our housing stock, which large low-income families need. Even the Ulysses project that he spoke about earlier, she did a letter of support for them in order to get the low-income housing tax credits in order to finance that project and try to make it a reality because it follows that philosophy. And the infrastructure projects as well, Vision Zero in 2024, she got over $6 million for that. So we're always trying to look on how we can tackle those different things and bring back money to the district to give to the city to kind of solve those problems that affect us all every day. And I'll end with our constituent services. Our office here in Denver, we do can help you with any federal agency. So for instance, another unknown, they wrongly had a $90,000 tax debt that we got wiped away for them. Seniors that are, either they're having problems with getting their Medicare or Social Security benefits, especially with survivor benefits or something like that. We can help with that if there's an issue on that end. If you realize that your passport is expired a week before your trip, please call our office. We can help with that. And then one thing that specifically affects Central Park, our office has done a lot of advocacy, relentless, keep going at it about the USPS issues and like the mail theft. And so I do have an update to share with you. Just 2 weeks ago, after a long period of dead silence from USPS, they said that they are finally installing new locks here in Central Park. The 80238 zip code. So
just like
it's a locking mechanism, I understand. So the one that they had, basically it's the master key.
yeah.
It can't really be duplicated, but clearly some group of people did duplicate them.
I hate to interrupt you, but that's not happening. The post office told me yesterday that they still had not been given instructions to begin replacing locks. So there seems to be some disconnect between.
Back with you?
Yeah.
We just spoke with them, and initially reached out this most recent time, they said, "Oh, we're starting in Glendale, for instance." They were
No.
installing new locks there. But
Whoever's unmuted, please mute yourself.
Yeah. but yeah, I'll connect with you and Liz, and I can get you the full update on that.
Okay.
So
Thank you so much. All right, I think we do have to move on to the next one, but I appreciate you coming to our meeting. Thank you. And we'll follow up by email. We also have Denver Public Schools Director Monica Hunter. I don't know if you're prepared to give an update.
And I mainly,
Just-
I
if you
mainly
wanna
just wanted
introduce
to
yourself.
respond and introduce myself again. I came while I was campaigning on debate stage, and I haven't been able to come back. So I just kind of wanted to reintroduce myself. My name is Monica. I'm a parent in the district. I have kids as young as 3-year-old twins in DPS schools. And I also taught, I started at Willow. That was my first year teaching, and I taught in Green Valley in Montbello the majority of my career. I work full-time for the state teachers union. I started human civil rights department there, and then I'm the vice president of the school board. And so in this first 6 months, I've really just focused on getting to schools, visiting, hearing the needs of the community. I visited all except Bill Roberts. I got to all the Central Park schools, and I have the largest district also. I have 64 schools, which is almost double the size of other districts. And so every single week I was out at schools. Quick priorities, speaking of kind of boundaries, the district boundaries, that's a conversation that's going to be happening right now because the current enrollment zones and boundaries were drawn in the early 90s. And we know, looking at the development and the expansion of our state, how much it's changed and how particularly this region in Green Valley, Central Park, those areas are experiencing growth, while some areas of our district have experienced quite a bit of declining enrollment. I'm talking about closing schools. So in the next month, you'll hear like the conversation around redrawing our boundary lines to just ensure that it's kind of split more equitable. And so if you're interested in that, you can absolutely go to the DPS website. Also, we will be introducing a cell phone technology ban. It's something that is required of the board to enact by June. And so the survey is still open, and we'll be presented the survey actually tomorrow, the results. And like, you can absolutely always write the board as well. We read every single one of your emails, although we don't always reply. But it most likely, based off of the community recommendations, will be a bell-to-bell ban, which means that students will at the beginning of the day either turn in their phone or give a pouch or some sort of something, and headphones and any kind of technology, and they can get those things back at the end of the day. And I personally introduced a literacy policy that will be back on in first read in June, and it's just to ensure that in elementary school that phonics is taught at every grade. Central Park schools quite honestly do a great job of that. Most of the schools I have went to already have a phonics curriculum and are doing most of what that policy covers, but really just to bring more equity to close those CMAS scores, particularly for Black and Latino students, when that literacy kind of disproportionately affects those populations. So I think those are the priorities, but mainly I just kind of wanted to come back. I haven't been back since election and just kind of say hi. If you ever need support or anything, you can always find my email, and I will get the resources or get back to you. So maybe just want to say thanks.
We send out a newsletter twice a month on the second and fourth Monday of the month. So we'll reach out if there's any stuff you'd like us to share.
Yeah.
In the email, we'll just post it.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you. Okay, I think Lieutenant Hines is on from the DPD District 5 office.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to talk about a couple quick things. One of the things we've seen as a rise in crime in the last month or so has been theft from motor vehicle. That's things being stolen from vehicles in the district. In precinct 511 in Central Park area north of I-70, we've seen a 115% increase in these cases in the last 28 days. So that out of those cases, almost half of them were unlocked vehicles. So criminals will go up and down the street, check your door handles, and if they find your car's on lock, they'll just steal items from it. So we can prevent about half of these cases by locking our cars. There were a few cases where it was smash and grabs. We had a number of cases too where license plates and things like that were stolen from the vehicle externally. I think the most concerning thing I'll say with regard to this crime trend is that district-wide in District 5 in the last 28 days, we've had 10 guns stolen from cars. So I've said it before, I'll say it again. Cars are terrible gun safes. Don't keep your guns in a car if you have one. What we are seeing too is that vehicles with out-of-state plates are being targeted for these primarily. And I think that I'll mention that a lot of these are happening at hotels. I think criminals have realized that people traveling in from more rural states aren't necessarily paying attention to the fact that they're in a big city, leave guns in cars, and criminals know to look for those out-of-state plates on certain vehicles and break into them and steal guns. So we're working with our hotel partners and everything to try to get some more messaging out to their guests, because what we don't want to see happen is the people breaking into vehicles, stealing guns, and then using those guns in crimes here in our city. So just something to be aware of. Remove valuables from your cars. Remove anything that looks like it could be valuable. If any of you have young kids, we see cars getting broken into where diaper bags are being stolen, not because a criminal wants diapers and diaper wipes, but let's face it, many modern diaper bags look really fancy, and somebody will grab that thinking maybe they're getting a laptop computer, and all they get is your diapers, but now you have to replace a $500 window on your car. So please be aware of that case. That's one of the trends we've been seeing lately. Another trend we've been seeing, and our friends at the MCA are probably familiar with this, is we've had a big increase in copper thefts. Backflow preventers in particular have been stolen. Basically the copper and brass setup that works with exterior sprinkler systems. Not so much from residential units, but more the commercial ones we see in parks. And we're also seeing a lot of telecommunication wire thefts. So breaking into CenturyLink boxes and stealing wire and fiber optic cable from there. We actually did make an arrest this week on an individual who had been stealing wire. I actually arrested him myself. So turns out the wire he was stealing was from RTD sites. So we're filing charges on that individual right now. But just be aware if you see stuff suspicious happening out in your park, somebody, fiddling around with the covers, the protective covers over those boxes, give us a call and we'll come out and check it out, because it's probably the same crew of people doing this, and we certainly want to catch those folks. Just in the interest of time, I don't want to talk too long. One other thing I wanted to mention tonight is we do have our monthly commanders meeting this Thursday at 6 p.m. It's at our district station at 12025 East 45th Avenue. We'll do a much deeper dive into crime trends, what's going on, things of that nature. So if you are available, please come by and join us. Not to put a shameless plug to try to attract people there, but we usually try to feed you too. So, it'll be cheap pizza. We're on a DPD budget, but by all means, if you're available, please come by and join us. We'd love to have you there. And thanks for your time tonight.
Could you share that information in the chat as well? Just
Certainly.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have for the next community partners, I think we had the MCA aquatics and events, but just in the interest of time, I think we have the flyers for that. Jack, I think
Right.
I don't see Diane on here, so we're gonna skim over the MCA.
Yeah, pool's open on Saturday. There,
Okay,
we're done.
it's open on Saturday.
Still reservations all week. So
Reservations all weekend. They open on Saturday. Reservations are full, so if you don't have one, you're not coming. There.
Happy Memorial Day weekend, everyone.
Yeah.
And then Layla, I see Layla's on at Bluff Lake. I think we have the sorry, Layla, we've got the flyer about the closure. If you want to just talk about that really quickly, and then we'll move to the next part.
Yes, even though we have been open since February, there is going to be some work being done on the ramp and stairs because some of that wasn't installed properly. So the site will be open. It's Tuesday, May 26th through Sunday, May 31st, as you can see there. But folks will have to use the Havana entrance as they did when we were under construction. But if you're coming for programming, please just go to our website to see like where people will be meeting, because they may either be meeting at the Havana entrance, or they may be meeting actually like in the parking lot and walking down MLK if it's something for stewardship, for example. So yeah, we just apologize that this had to happen, but mistakes were made by folks and we're getting it fixed. But if you do have any questions, please reach out to us. Our email address is there, info@blufflake.org, and we've been pretty good at responding to folks as quickly as we can. So yeah, long story short, the ramp and stairs will be closed, but the site will be open.
Thank you so much. And we'll share this out in the newsletter next week too.
Thank you.
We were going to have a break, but I would just recommend if folks just want to stand up and stand up, stretch your legs, get food. We have, instead of pizza tonight, we have wine and cheese and crackers. So please, and popcorn. So like folks, please stand up while we move to the next items. We can, kind of move around. But I think, Brian, I was going to say, do we want to just really like 2 minutes on this and we'll move to the e-bike follow-up, I think.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would call it is that we did get the donation from the district data office. And we will be getting the MCA donation that we get on an annual basis of $3,000. So we're in really good shape financially. So anything else?
Okay, yeah.
Merch, huh?
I'm sorry.
Website merch.
Yeah.
We need
I knew somebody bought stuff on
I got an email. I was like, what? But you can buy CPUN swag on the website if you are interested. And we do get a small piece of.
Well, I think if anybody has been following the treasurer's report month to month, the only thing we really spend our budget on at the moment is like largely the website maintenance and our MailChimp. So next month though, we'll kind of be doing a dive into like what sort of events do we want to sponsor, what sort of initiatives, and we have the community survey coming up, so there will be a budget proposal on that. So we will actually start spending down some of that, and if folks have ideas for how how you want to use the budget for community events or community outreach, let us know. That's what we're going to be discussing at next month's meeting. So we've got, I don't know where Carol's over there. We have a few follow-ups from last month's panel, and we will be sending out a separate email specifically addressing some of these follow-ups. Carol and Amy, as the co-chairs for Safe Streets, you're working on the one-pager kind of educational information, just with key takeaways from the panel, and just like I think what we learned about the different language around e-bikes and e-motos and the difference between them, and different kind of regulations and rules that already exist around those vehicles, and then other safety outreach. I've reached out to the Northeast Transportation Connections outreach team to kind of gauge their interest in tabling with us at one MCA event this summer each month. So one farmer's market, 1 month, say one concert and one outdoor movie, just to have a table with outreach and educational materials. So we'll be needing volunteers for that as we get set up. Right now, it's still in process. I sent them the list of like all of the dates of the MCA events, and they're going to get back to me on what they have the capacity. We have the capacity to table, and then send that out to them. for folks to sign up for tabling those events. And then the kind of last update we have yesterday, so Jesse in the District 8 office facilitated setting up this meeting with Denver Parks and Rec. The director, Jolan Clark, was there, and then the head of the park rangers, trails management, and a couple of other folks in the department. The key take, and so I was in that meeting, and Amy Campbell was also in that meeting. Key takeaways. So Parks and Rec made a commitment to place speed limit signage actually at the entrance to some of the bike trails. And I think something that we learned last month is that nobody has any idea that there are even speed limits on the trails. So just as, and we don't think that it's any kind of silver bullet. I think it's not going to solve the problem, but it's at least one piece of information that doesn't exist at the moment. And so the next slide actually has their proposed locations for speed limit signs. It's 50 miles per hour, whether you're on an electric vehicle or a non-electric vehicle or just walking. So anyway, we'll look at those and can get back to them. They also said that their marketing, there was kind of this discussion of like, oh, we know this is an issue, like it's not just citywide, it's nationwide. And so there is a potential resource that their marketing team is putting together. And we asked that if possible, we would get back to them with the dates that we'd be tabling with the NETC, and that if they could have something ready by then, that would be great for us to have as one of the resources. They actually already do have a graphic and just kind of trail and park etiquette like information that we'll be sharing out in the next newsletter. That is just kind of very useful and concise, and it's multimodal. So it's addresses a range of behaviors on trails and parks. And then also just in terms of enforcement, the rangers did they said that residents, like when you do call into 311 or the non-emergency line, kind of similar to the way that you would report off-leash dogs, like it's not easy for them to do reactive enforcement because obviously people are gone. And so what they recommended is giving location, typical days and times when you see folks, and I think that with school letting out, see more kids on these in the park and kind of riding off-road in the parks. So when reporting, so then they can plan to do targeted operations, and it's largely focused on behavioral changes. So they'll actually have kind of signs or, kind of stop folks and talk about that. So those are some of the initial steps and commitments that we got from Parks and Rec at our meeting yesterday. Yes. So
go ahead to that slide.
Yes.
These are all south.
Yes, I made the same comments.
And the problem appears to be north of I-70.
Yeah. So I think that actually is the feedback that we want to be giving them. So these are not set in stone, but this is what the trail manager, and I will say the rangers have a lot of on the ground experience in our neighborhood. The guy who was suggesting the placements of these is not as does not have as much experience with like our neighborhoods, bikes and trails. So this is what he suggested. Yeah, and this is all south of I-70. I think that we can look at if folks have suggestions for entrances to parks and trails north of I-70, that I think that's really important feedback. So that's
are these strictly just speed limit signs, or they also like usage and?
No, it's just like straight up like speed limit, like 15 mph, like so.
You have
I think
usage signs, but they're, I took a picture of it. I think I sent it.
They're faded.
Well, they're not faded. They're just so tiny.
it's like 10 spots.
I'm walking and I have to walk up to it and look at it. And it says all the things that they are saying, but nobody's going to look at it because it just looks like a big white sign.
So for comparison, and actually maybe I can do that this weekend, but if you ride on like the Cherry Creek or South Platte trails, like I think they said that, in terms of like hotspots for complaints around these things, actually like, Central Park actually is not like doesn't have as high a usage as like, say, the more downtown, like bike trails. So I think the guy was saying that Cherry Creek has 1 million users in a month. And so obviously that is like where they will have a higher concentration of just, folks interacting with each other on like in different kinds of pedestrian or biking modes of transport. So I think that it was a really good meeting just in terms of like kind of raising it as an issue in a more residential neighborhood. And so I think it was a good start. But just in terms of like, if you want an example of what the signage will look like, it's what's on these trails, which is just pretty simple. It's not like, I think that the thing that's also intention is that if you're out in green space and open space, you don't want to see too many signs. Or that's like some of the commentary that they get. So I think like they want to strike a balance in that. Right now we're starting from almost zero. So this is a start. And so then this is more for the CPUN board or other folks here who joined us tonight who are not on the board, but are interested at all in what Beth Lewis was talking about in terms of turf replacement follow-ups. If we would like, would we be interested in hosting further into the summer tour of what does her garden look like, what sort of plantings, or even a walking tour of like north of 56, because I think that the landscaping north of I-70 versus south of I-70. South of I-70, we have a lot of kind of like the more traditional kind of like what you think of as like the like non-native grassy parks, like for the most part, and then looking north of I-70. And so I think that actually a follow-up action of just having like a little bit of a walking tour of like what is possible and what are people already doing in our community is very low hanging fruit. So anyway, I'll stop. But then, yeah, I know Jamie Hodgkins on our board suggested a larger discussion panel as well later in the year to kind of like dig into water usage and just kind of sustainability issues more generally around the drought. And then this is something that actually Daryl Eder, as a community member who's been on the DEI committee, brought up another sustainability initiative is that the balcony solar units that just got approved by the state legislature, as those right now, I think that the units that would be compliant with that are not actually on the market or available at the moment, but just as that comes on, he had a suggestion because there are some climate granting programs just for seeing, is there any sort of granting program where we could help fund for like solar units of this kind for renters or income qualified housing in the neighborhood. So anyway, does anybody want to share their thoughts on any of these follow-ups, because this is, I think, the conversation we need to be having after we have guest speakers.
Neighborhood garden.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize we're still here. Sorry.
Yeah, I can host a couple garden tours around the neighborhood. And I would announce those on Facebook and try and figure out when folks are most available.
Yeah, that would be great. And we can put that in our, we have our newsletter. I can share it out like on our website. If that would be helpful and just kind of amplify.
I'm sharing the tip of getting a picture of your turf now in anticipation of next year getting the Facebook credit.
Yeah.
I don't know if Resource Central would accept like Google Maps pictures, depending on how old they might be. I mean, you could always call them and ask, but anybody in sustainability, it's a high demand year. So, but if you want that rebate, you do need images.
And I know that I will also just like plug like the Resource Central like garden. I don't have that, but my sister replaced like her like yeah, she replaced her front yard with like the box like the kit that they had for the sloped
Yeah.
and it's, you know, two years later it's filled in really nicely. So any I guess like
I have a comment on
Go ahead.
speed signs.
Sure.
North of 70. If you put them at the, I live up in that area.
Yeah.
If you put them at the two bridges, they wouldn't be standing out in the middle. The bridges are structures anyway. But I mean, you got the one under 56. Everybody comes together kind of underneath that. You got the one on Quebec or on Central Park by the high school. And then the other places is like coming in from Commerce City. I walk around that reservoir. They come out of the wildlife and they're flying. If you put it there at the entrance where they go through the gates. I mean, there's some places that already have structures
yeah.
that aren't gonna affect, out in the middle of the grass and stuff.
Yeah.
But the two bridges are, because they come off of 56, everything comes under there.
Mhm.
And then farther south too, I know you got it by, some of those, but it's just a suggestion.
No, that would be great. I think that anybody who rides there, if you can give me like a little map. So I live south, I live south of I-70, so I am less familiar with that, but if anybody could kind of take a little screenshot of like the map or location, if you can email, like you can contact us on our website and send that.
You got 3,000 kids coming into that high
Yeah.
school, and then you got the two grade schools right there. I mean, yeah, it's not weekends and stuff, but during the week, there's a lot of bikes going through there.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's the other, something that came up in yesterday's meeting is that Parks and Rec can only like address so much of it. And then that's why last month's panel was co-sponsored by was the Education Committee and Safe Streets, because we do recognize that it is like there's a like large volume of kind of this behavior like during the school day and during the school year. And I think that's a good suggestion. Anyone else?
On sustainability.
That's what we gotta talk about. It's like, it's anyway, Heather.
And I were just looking at each other like, yeah.
I mean, something that I've wanted to talk about for a couple of months, it's just that we have more dormant committees than we have active committees. And so I think we need to, what I want to address at next month's meeting is like rethinking, like what the work that we want committees to be doing. Is that the most useful structure for it? Or is it, just or we're thinking of committees as like project focused working groups, and kind of going from there instead of just saying, we just have this committee, so and I feel like we have like some meaty action items like that touch on the areas of these committees, but like it's difficult when you don't have a specific project to just kind of like figure out a time to meet and kind of think in a vacuum. So that's what I'd like to, that is an excellent question.
Yeah.
One that we want to talk about.
It's definitely something I'm interested in. I think, balcony spur and the watering restrictions like that all seems to kind of tie in with sustainability.
Exactly. Yeah. No. So I think that this gives us like a kind of something to grab onto and start moving with. And so then let's see. Okay, it is 8:13. We will end before 8:30. So as I said, I'll look ahead for June instead of having, this was a very, this was an informative evening with lots of guest speakers. I think that for our June meeting, we we will not have guest speakers. It will be focused on, so for our new board members, and as a refresher, for anybody who needs it, just focus it. I have kind of like some slides on like registered neighborhood organizations. What are they? So an RNO 101, and also the question of like, and it's fairly open-ended. So also like, what do we want to be? And then just doing internal board work on goal setting for the next board year event, and kind of event planning. What sort of events do we want to follow up? We've done the first 6 months of the year, so we'll have a sum up of that. Last week, our community building committee met. We will actually not be doing the mini golf fundraiser this year. The CPBA has decided to go in a different direction without kind of the business sponsorships. Kind of doesn't make sense for us as a fundraiser. So we were discussing just kind of like, okay, fundraising placement. And so we used to have email, like our newsletter sponsorships. We can talk about that, or any other sort of fundraising things. But I do think thinking about non-ticketed community events that bring people together that are not fundraisers is actually something that I would like us to be thinking about and focusing on more than just a single fundraiser. Something that is coming up, and I'm looking at Heather again, is the community survey. And so we'll talk about the timeline for that. And we will have, Heather's put together a good budget request on software. We used Google surveys last year, which was free, but it doesn't have kind of like the analytic ability that SurveyMonkey, you know, and product like that has. We did not, we really want to make an effort to have this translated into Spanish as well as English. And so there will be a cost for that. It's about 12 cents. Is it 12 cents? I think.
It's the low end, but.
So, and yeah, so building into our budget, making sure, and also building into our timeline, you know, time to make sure that this is a bilingual survey. And then also there are incentives for filling out the survey. So it was like an Amazon gift card. I think actually maybe a gift card to a local business or something like that is much better. So we'll talk also about budgeting for that. So events that we talked about at the meeting, there will be the tabling following up on the e-bike panel at the MCA events this summer. Tanya, I don't know if you wanted to talk at all about like the idea of like, since, you know, just.
Yeah, I mean, it's very preliminary, but a former board member actually owns Mile High Pickleball and has agreed to host some events where we could just kind of introduce the game to anyone in the community of any age. It's like an instructor for an hour and then a few open play for a couple hours to follow. So.
And she recommended also like the tape, like having kind of wellness or other sort of like health, like health or public health outreach tables at those events too. So it's kind of not just, I mean, it's both the game and play and also just resources.
Exactly.
So anyway, so that is something. And then my idea, I still want to do like scavenger hunt of some kind. If anybody did that, come see me. I used to do photo scavenger hunts. So I have some ideas, but would need some folks to help with what that looks like here in the community. And so that's that. Basically, this is just to get kind of like the wheels turning in your heads about what you want to bring to the June meeting, and what you want us to be working on together for the next board year. Oh, no, since job of the community. She was going to be the person who was the assistant instructor. So that was actually how the pickleball came up, but just having kind of more active activities. I appreciate everybody who comes to our meetings, but that's most people, especially though we've seen surveys, people will show up for events that are not meetings that they will show up to a meeting. I think that that's, you know, I think that makes perfect sense. So we want to kind of be thinking along these lines. So, I guess any questions? It is now 8:19.
The only other thing I would say is that we did, while we have two new board members,
Oh, yeah.
we lost two board members, and we are in continuing that if there are people that are interested in joining the board, taking on some of the committees, things like that, we are going to be, we are going to have that as an open kind of recruiting.
Yeah.
Because we have at least 5 open boards.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because we expanded the board. We would be at capacity, I think, at the old board members. And a few years ago, because the neighborhood was growing, we expanded the number of board seats on the CPUN board. So anyway, yes. So anybody who is here, both online and in the room, if you're interested in getting involved, joining the CPUN board, contact me, or any of these other fine folks in the room. I will just share, like, when I joined the board, I joined in August. I didn't join as part of the board slate. I was actually a member of a committee, and realized that I wanted to be more involved at the board level, and just there was a vacancy, and I asked to join at that point. So it really is not, it doesn't have to, you don't have to go through like the board slate process. So, okay. And we now have 10 minutes. I'm going to stop this meeting. I'm going to stop the recording. We still have some food and drinks, and there are still people in the room to socialize. So let's like get to know each other. Thank you all so much for coming. See you.